Revisiting Tiger King. Take one. When I saw Joe Exotic, I thought he was obviously quite vicious and quite nasty, and you could see there was a lot of hatred within him. And then we got this narrative all the way through it, and then at some point throughout the series, the creators decided to try to make the public a little bit more sympathetic towards him, which I thought was just, it was in bad taste, I thought, because obviously, there was crimes that he had committed that he was in jail for, and to try and gather sympathy for him, it seemed extremely off.
I was blown away by that because we worked with the producers of Tiger King for 5 years on what they said was going to be the Blackfish film for big cats, that it would expose all of these evil things that these people do to these animals. And instead, it did try to make him look like he was a country and Western singer when he never sang those songs. He paid somebody to write and he just lip synced to them. But they never pointed that out in the film. And I think the music was so good, and I loved the music as well. I didn't love the words, of course, but the singer and the music score behind it, it was really catchy tunes. And I think people thought that he was like this great undiscovered person who represented who they were if at their very worst. If you could imagine, if you could live in a world where you could say or do anything that you wanted to, and you never had to face the consequences of that, that was Joe Exotic. And so I think, especially during COVID, people really looked at that and thought, I wish I could be like that. I wish I could say what was on my mind. I wish I could just be a jerk. And I think they really associated with him because of the way that the Tiger King producers tried to portray him and how they downplayed so many of the horrible things that they knew about him, because we had sent them to the people who could tell them about the horrible things that he had done. And those people weren't in Tiger King. Their stories weren't told about the vicious, cruel things that he would do to animals. In fact, there's a book out right now by his cellmate. He was in jail in the Garvin County Jail for about a year and a half, I think, before he got sent to the federal penitentiary. And his cellmate was a guy named Kevin Wick, who wrote a book called something like 60 Days in a Cage with a Tiger King or something like that. It's on Amazon. But in it, he talks about all of the cruel things that Joe would report to him and all of the discussions of bestiality, and how Joe walked right up to those tigers and shot them in the face because he needed cage space for the circus that was going to be boarding cats there. And those stories never made it into Tiger King. And if they had, nobody would have liked Joe. Nobody would have had free Joe Exotic campaigns running all over the place. So why on earth they did it, I can't even begin to guess. Their story would have been so much better had it been truthful, and it would have moved the world to save the tigers more quickly. Instead, it created this whole weird phenomenon of people wanting to be like Joe or wanting to be Team Joe, when I just can't even imagine a world where people would want to be that abusive to other people or to other animals. And yet that's what came out of Tiger King.
It shows a lack of integrity on the part of the creators of Tiger King. So would that make you more nervous working with them in the future still?
Well, that's why I refused to work with them. After Tiger King came out, they contacted us and they said, we want to clear the air. And I said, lose my number. And I just blocked them. I was like, you're not calling me. You're not emailing me. You've shown me what you people are like. And then when the Tiger King 2 trailer came out and I saw that they were using footage that they had shot back in Tiger King 1, we filed a lawsuit to try and stop that. We lost because we only had a few days to do it. And the courts determined that, well, I don't know why they did it, but they determined that we couldn't get an injunction to make them pull that footage out since we hadn't agreed to allow that footage. But we ended up dropping the suit because once it aired, it was, the damage was already done.
It makes it difficult as well for other members of the media as well for doing interviews and stuff. I saw a hit piece on somebody who basically lives at Loch Ness looking for the monster and stuff, where the film that was made was nothing like it was meant to be, and I wanted to go film with them as well. And then I was going to put in this awkward situation where the person no longer trusts the media whatsoever and stuff. And when you do things like that, it might get you more views and stuff, but in reality, you're taking an interesting story, and it's kind of making it impossible for people to kind of the people that were involved to trust the media and filmmakers again and stuff in the future, which is it's quite sad. I think basically people should have more integrity though.
We worked with so many other producers over the years, and we're working during that 5-year period with a number of people like Mike Weber, who came out with The Conservation Game, which is an excellent film. And he was one of the most vocal people that spoke up against what we all think to be when I say we all, like my husband and I and Mike Weber, think that the lack of integrity of the Tiger King producers did to the entire industry because of exactly what you just said, that nobody will trust a filmmaker after they've seen what happened in Tiger King, once they've learned that so many of those narratives were twisted or just outright lies. Like, they made this whole thing to be a feud between me and Joe Exotic. I've never spoken to Joe Exotic. So the fact that my name was on his tongue all the time, you never heard me talking about him during all that time. And I've talked about him, of course, since Tiger King, but only because I've had to defend myself against all of that. I never went after him personally or anything like that before.